But here I am, in the middle of this military base, but this amazing, beautiful sunrise is bringing this inner peace.
Today's guest is wild woman Shanda Akin. Her photography and art are the result of her pursuit to witness a depleting natural globe, bring the surreal to life, and experience remarkable moments while sharing her view of the world. After a 25-year career in the Air Force, she chose to make her first project a beautiful book about the nature and landscapes that surround her home in Durango, Colorado. Shanda has an affinity for the outdoors and landscapes, but considers herself a photographic generalist. Check out her work and upcoming book at Shanda, Shanda, Akin, Akin.com. Now let's get started.
All right, so I'm back with another episode here with Shanda Akin, who is actually a wild woman, because you literally have been in so many wild places around the world.
Yes. Hi, Bree.
And I'm thinking of the time we went to, so this past March, this is just for the audience. Shanda and I met up with 4 other women. You will hear some of them on this podcast eventually. And we met up with 4 other women for a week in New Mexico. And we basically roamed around White Sands National Park for like 7 days. In fact, I don't know who said it. One of y'all was like, we could go to White Sands like every day for a week. And I'm like, yeah, we can. Mm-hmm. And we did, didn't we?
Yes. And it was amazing every single day.
Every single day. And actually, one of my favorite images of me, I'm calling it a portrait. It's like a wild portrait, is that we have this. I'll talk about this with another guest later. I'm going to have Michelle on and we're going to talk. We had these whiteout conditions where the sand was just blowing. And you have this picture of me, my goggles, because you have to wear goggles out on the dunes. You had goggles too. We all had goggles. And I have them up on top of my head. I don't know why, because it's hard to look in your camera when you're wearing goggles. So I lift them up, and I have to squint my eyes and then look in my camera, right? But I had my eyes open. I was looking around, and I just have it's like this look of pure joy, like crazy wild joy on my face, right?
You have the biggest smile. It absolutely was one of those things you had to capture. One of those moments it was amazing.
Actually, we've never talked about this before. And before we get into all of the other stuff, like, were you just looking around with your camera and saw me doing that? Because I don't even remember you taking the picture of me.
I wasn't looking watching at each one. I mean, it was almost euphoric, the way that the sand came in, almost complete whiteout. We couldn't see anything. It was so noisy, as in the sand, you could feel the sand gritting your body and your face. I mean, every exposed body part. But then at the same time, it was quiet. So it was windy, sandy, blowing, but at the same time, quiet, if that makes sense.
Well, quiet as in you can't hear anything else but that.
Right. But it gave me that feeling. I just wanted to sit there and witness everything that was happening around. Each one of us were battling it or maintaining in that space in a different way. And even that was fun to capture. It's part of the story.
Yeah, that's interesting. Ooh, I bet that was really fun, because I really was like, I was in my own head right then. Just kind of like, where else can I look? Is there anything here to photograph? I don't even, I think I have some from that moment, but not, I mean, just the whiteout in itself was pretty incredible. It's something that you would think you would experience in the snow, but this is like little, it's gypsum. So White Sands National Park is all gypsum in the dunes, for those who don't know. And so it's different than regular sand, and it doesn't hold heat. So it's always kind of stays kind of the same temperature, which kind of feels cool. But anyway, it was just interesting to be out there, and a really wild experience. And I really appreciate that I have that photo of me in the wild doing that.
That's wonderful. And then since we stuck it out, we hung out, we lingered a little bit. We were deciding whether or not we should stay or go. And because we stayed, we were rewarded with that absolutely beautiful sky and sun play along the sand that was blowing along the bases of the mountains. I mean, it was like a reward for getting through the whiteout.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what everyone else has. We haven't barely shared. We have like some images we shared, but not everything. I think we're all kind of hoarding them to ourselves a tiny bit. Or maybe we've been so busy we haven't gotten around to like putting them, like actually editing.
That might be too. I have a feeling that's part of the. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a few that I've edited, but not in like a portfolio project, not a portfolio, but like a project kind of a way, which I will. So that was a really good time. And I really appreciated the community, like just the community and the camaraderie of everyone was really like a wonderful experience.
Absolutely, Brian. You know, it's complicated to be a landscape photographer. That's a female. And to find those females to go out and do expeditions like that. And for us to find this group of women and for it to work so well was such a wonderful experience.
I know. I can't believe it. We're all like floored that it actually worked. I think we're like all surprised. But it was really great. And that we could have multiple personalities all coming together to share it was
very much.
Was just really lovely. And there was literally zero drama. I don't remember there was nothing.
No, nothing.
You know why? Because there was chocolate there, wasn't there?
And maybe some dessert.
Ooh, I made a lava cake. Yeah, I made lava cakes with fresh raspberries and homemade whipped cream. So that was really fun. Okay, I just wanted to reminisce about that just for a minute because we can. So the more I've gotten to know you, Shanda, the more I have really appreciated like your life experiences. And I don't even know like barely a teeny tiny part of them. So I'm really excited for you to share some of these. And you gave me, and let me look at my form, because I ask all of my guests to tell me their top 3 emotions when they're out doing photography. And you told me elation, rejuvenation, and peace.
Yes.
What experience are you just dying to share with us?
Well, there's a couple of experiences. And what I would like to start with is my photography came about basically because of the remarkable moments that I was witnessing. And this was 5, 6, 8, 10 years into my Air Force career. I was always the one with the camera. But at this point, I realized as the one with the camera, I was capturing remarkable moments. And these weren't photos you're going to take home and frame and put on a wall and sell as fine art, yada, yada, yada. But they're little snapshots in time of things that I witnessed that were just incredible. And as I interacted with friends and family and passersby, and they asked me to tell the story, the images just made the story more real. So it made these surreal stories more real. I had the opportunity to go to many places while I was in my Air Force career, and a lot of the Middle East. And the women there, as you may or may not know, have a lot of different abilities than we do. For example, we met with the Jordanian army one time, and I was in the Air Force, and at the time, women could not join the Jordanian Air Force, but they could be in the Jordanian army. But they were still separate. So they were separate barracks, separate training facilities. And so we got to go to this all-women training facility and meet the generals and the enlisted leaders of this Jordanian army. And it was such a wonderful experience. And luckily, because I had a camera, I was able to capture a fantastic image of all of us that were there in this particular meeting. from the generals to the enlisted. There was myself as an Air Force member, another Army female, another Air Force female. And it made us feel united as women and strong and capable in the things that we were able to do. They cannot do any of their physical training in shorts and t-shirts like us. They still have to do all their physical training in their full gear, their complete shirts, long sleeve shirts, pants, boots, because they're not even able to wear like shorts and t-shirts. So the differences are huge. To even go further past that, as we were driving through Jordan and going to other places in Jordan, there's Jordanian women along the street with their children. And the streets are very, compared to where I'm from and where I grew up, their streets are dirtier and busier, and there's people and cars, and there's cars driving in places that there's no marked lanes. They're crossing each other. They're on top of each other. They're on the side. They're everywhere. It's kind of chaos. But because I had my camera, I was able to capture some photos of these ladies on the side of the street in their full garb with their kids, talking and carrying on, and people passing by with their baskets and their goods. And there's a picture that I have of a guy. He's standing out next to a stand with his camel waving and everybody waving, the passerby. There's another guy with his sheep. He's herding his sheep across the road. And these are just things that you don't get to see every day. They're not things that even Americans get to see every day. But I was able to bring back these images and tell, the stories of these people and the place and the colors, and give that feel of what it might have been like to be there.
I really love that. You seem like you always want to be present in the moment, like you're looking around and paying attention, like, hey, what's going on? And how can I kind of depict this with my camera? But also I love, like you're saying, this doesn't have to be fine art. You just go and you make photos, and I'll quantify this or whatever by saying you have some amazing fine art images, but
thank you.
I feel like sometimes just getting the photo in, having the memory is also really important, to like having the story and having this, it kind of sometimes like makes us fuller experience, and it helps solidify the memory of it. So I don't know. Yeah, you're agreeing with me. That's how kind of I feel too. And that's kind of what I'm getting from you. I'm sure you have more, but I'm wondering, like you said, peace, like in some of the things that you told me ahead of time, you were like, I find peace in so many places that I go and no matter what I'm doing. And I'm wondering how you have this chaotic, you're traveling to all these, different countries, and, you're in these chaotic places and yet you feel peace. How do those correlate?
Well, let me give you one example. I arrived in the middle of the night in Qatar, and between the time travel and everything going on, I'm up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go and take a little walk outside and see what's going on. And the sun is coming up, and it's a desert environment. And even the tiniest bit of wind that's blowing picks up these pieces of sand and puts them into the air, and it filters the sunlight in a way that I'm not used to seeing. And that morning, the sun is coming up, and it's these beautiful red, orange, yellow colors. And I've got this photo. It's actually won a photo contest, but it's behind concertina wire. And so concertina wire is what we use at a lot of military bases to help protect, it's a defense. But here I am, in the middle of this military base, but this amazing, beautiful sunrise is bringing this inner peace. So no matter what's going on around me, just that beautiful connection with the environment just filled me with that peace. And it does every day. It continues, throughout the day. It continues throughout the evening. And so that's what has always helped me get through those tougher times, all the times that I had to go down in Afghanistan and help escort injured troops out to hospital facilities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. it's those moments, you have to take those moments, those quiet times and connect for just a minute. And that brings the peace that rejuvenated me to be able to continue on and do what I did.
So it's I love this. I love this idea of this, that you have the peace in the moment. Like you can look past all of the concertina wire. Is that the razor wire that goes
Yes.
round and round?
Yep.
Like
Also
this?
known as razor wire.
Okay. All right. I got it.
Usually in big kind of circles or big coils.
Concertina wire sounds more lovely than razor wire.
Right. It does.
But I love that you can look, like, I think sometimes we can look past some of this and focus on on what's peaceful. And then when we do that, it's kind of I'm a coach. I'm like a mindset coach. So I'm always relating this stuff, but I'm seeing that and going, oh, then I can remember I'm focusing on what creates peace. And then I can take that with me. This is what I'm hearing from you. I can take that with me around.
Yeah. And I know it's there. It's around me. It's out there, constantly, really.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. And what a beautiful way to do that is with actual photography, that you can have something, and if you printed it, you could have it with you. It's tangible. You can see it again in your mind. That's partly what makes photography amazing, is that we can actually take that with us and relive it.
And sometimes when you think back on things, so when I look at this picture, I think, wow, was it really that real? Was that really, so in the moment we have these feelings and we feel a certain way about things and we think we see things and these colors give us this emotion and this peace. And then you have this image and you look back and you think, wow, that was real. It really was amazing. It really was, this color, whether or not that's important in the moment, because in the moment you get that peace, you get what you need to carry on. But later when you look back and you think, wow, that really was that amazing.
I didn't make it up.
Right? Exactly.
I didn't make it up. I really did live this moment.
Yeah.
Like being out in white sands in a whiteout,
Right. This is kind of what it looks like. You can, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You also talk about elation and rejuvenation. And I think some of this peace, when we talk about peace, then there is some rejuvenation there that we can, like, I think peace can help us rejuvenate our energy, rejuvenate our spirit, but also I think there's rejuvenation in the actual, like, creation. I'm wondering what moments you've had that have caused that for you.
Just simply going outside. So photography in general for me is very regenerative. And whether or not I come home with an amazing image, whether or not the wildflowers perfectly lined up with that amazing waterfall, whether that happens or not, just the act of getting out and being there for me is that's the original reason I'm there. That's the original reason that I go outdoors. The photography is just the follow-up. It's that capturing those moments or not, but I just being outdoors is what gives me that rejuvenation. So, for example, I was in Virginia for just over a year, almost a year and a half. And even though it's not the mountains, it's not the waterfalls, it's not the wildflowers, the ocean was incredible. So I spent a lot of time out along the ocean and down in Virginia Beach. And
were you in Norfolk?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
We lived in Richmond. We lived in Richmond for like 12 years.
You did. I lived in Hampton. So just over a year. So
okay.
Yeah. Very different from here and very different from Texas, but it has its own unique vibes. So I'm going out here to just get outdoors a little bit, just get some fresh air, take my camera with me, of course. And there's a storm coming in from the ocean up to the beach, and beachgoers are running. They're grabbing their stuff. They're running. It's blowing. It's flowing. The sea is getting wild, and I'm running out to the pier to take pictures. And it's exhilarating, and just being in that moment is rejuvenating for me. Coming back from that is rejuvenating for me, even if it's wild and crazy, even if it's this storm that just is chaotic and scary. and puts your nerves on edge, it's still rejuvenating. It's still wonderful when you come back from it.
You sound like you have kind of an ability to go out into chaos and keep your cool. Do you think that's from your military training?
I don't know if it's from the training or if it's my personality, but I've been told a lot that I'm a cool character. I'm a cool cucumber, and I'm able to remain calm under pressure. Maybe it did me really well in my military career, but yeah.
So if I go backpacking in crazy places, you're the person that I want to go with?
Yes.
We were just talking before this, and Shanda was like, I'm dying to get out backpacking. I miss it. So
absolutely.
We're going to encourage you to find time to go do that. Some of the other things, because I always ask my guests to tell me about some of their other experiences they might want to share. I want to hear about disappearing geological icons and what some of maybe what you've seen or what you've experienced and what that means to you.
There's many cases around the world where beautiful trees, iconic rock formations, even lakes, forests, things are not going to exist as they have in the past. And whether it's a natural phenomenon that destroys them or it's humans that destroys them, it's inevitable. And it's kind of a catch-22 because I want to go witness these things. We want to see them, but it causes a flock of people to some of these places, and not everybody takes care of them as they should or as respectful as they should. And so that causes a problem, much like the Ice Lakes fire that I can tell you about later. But in this particular situation, I got scuba dive certified in Gozo, Malta. We spent a week out there diving different locations. And we did one dive in this place called the Blue Hole. And behind it was this big arch. It's called the Azure Window. It's in the Game of Thrones. So some of the Game of Thrones was filmed right there next to this Azure Window. And in 2017, a big storm hit and the window fell into the ocean. It's a natural phenomenon. It just makes me grateful that I'm able to witness some of these things. I have a photograph of me and the other dive team looking back at this Azure Window as it stood, as if we knew it was going to be disappearing. It's the strangest image of us just looking back at the Azure Window, not even knowing that it's the last time that we were going to see it or the last time that we were going to look back at it. And then it's gone. And I've read stories from the Maltese people, how they talk about it. They felt it was part of their identity. And they wonder if disallowing so many visitors would have had an impact, or if there wasn't anything that, could be done. Some people do wonder if there was less traffic out there, would it have been stronger? I don't know, what have you. But that's one situation where we've got this really neat natural piece of artwork, really, and it's gone, no longer to be seen.
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard, right? Because this does happen. Like if you are out in nature and seeing these things, the world changes. And even small places close to me, I've seen places change. We get an ice storm here in Texas and there's lots of trees gone, or, big chunks, fall off a waterfall because it's just can't handle the freeze, and it's the way it happens and things change. And sometimes humans do it too, which is really sad.
Yep. There was the Ice Lakes is hugely popular on Instagram. It just blew up. And there are these beautiful blue lakes up in the San Juan National Forest. And my husband and I just happened to be backpacking that weekend. We were out for 4 days. And on the third morning, smoke is coming in. And so we're wondering, and it's coming in the direction that the entrance to the trail was, basically the way that we were going to have to exit, because we didn't know another way to exit. And so the smoke is just filling and billowing, and it's becoming very hard to see. And we're thinking we need to get out of here. And so we're messaging our friends at emergency management down in Silverton, asking them, should we be concerned? How close is this fire? What's going on? And it just happened to be that it was across the valley across the highway, across the valley, but it was still such a big billowing ball of smoke that it was way across the valley where we were, and it caused us, major concern. And it turned out to be that it was a fire that was accidentally caused by hikers, and it shut down the whole place for more than a year, and it destroyed a lot of the trees and then, access. And then there was talk about it not being opened and then it being permitted. And so that's one of the instances that people have caused destruction for either lack of understanding, don't know, don't care, don't prepare. Those are my 3 don'ts. Don't know, don't care, don't prepare. And typically people fall in between, one of those 3. And it's unfortunate.
True. And I'll go out in the desert Southwest and I'll see people going out with barely any water. And I'm like, it's the don't prepare. You got to be prepared. You got to be prepared. So
we've given up water to people before that were hiking. Yep.
Yeah. Same.
Yep. As a matter of fact, in Virginia, since we were just talking about Virginia, there's this place called the Devil's Bath that I wanted to go visit. I wanted to get to know a little bit of what's out in the Virginia area. And I went to the trailhead. It was in the afternoon. And I said, okay, I just want to get a little feel for how it works. And I went to the trailhead and took a look at the parking.
Wait, hang on. Where is this at? Which part of Virginia?
Oh, God.
Is it in the mountains like Shenandoah's, or is it closer?
Yeah, it's in the mountains. Okay. It took me
3 hours, 3.5?
About 3 hours from Hampton to get there. I just wanted a weekend getaway, wanted to go and see some of the things that Virginia had to offer. And I'm at the trailhead. I'm just trying to look at the parking situation and see how busy it might be so that I know first thing tomorrow morning, the next morning, what to expect, and I know where to find it and how to get there and yada, yada, yada. Because I want to get up really early. I want to be there for sunrise and take some great photographs. And this young woman walks down to my car and she says, "Are you going to go hiking tonight?" And I said, "Oh, no, I was thinking about tomorrow." And she said, "Really? Are you sure you don't, would you hike with me tonight?" And I paused for a minute and I'm wondering, I don't know why really. She says, "I was hiking and I'm all by myself and there was these 5 boys and they were behind me and it made me really nervous. So I turned back." And so I decided, okay, I'm going to go with this girl. I said, "But here's the thing. We need to make this quick because I'm not hiking in the dark." And she told me the story. She's a young Indian college student, actually from India. And she is out adventuring all by herself in America. And she's adventuring all by herself on trails and not something that she's used to. And she got a little bit nervous when some males were hiking on the trail at the same time in the afternoon. And so she decided that she wasn't going to go. And when she saw me, she said, "Oh, another female, I guess a safe looking person," and asked if I would go with her. And so I said, "Sure." Yep. So I had 2 bottles of water and I had some Cliff bars and stuff. And so we packed them up really quick and took off. And I said, "But we do need to make this quick." So on our way up, we see this couple and he is in these shoes that look like slippers. And he at least has a t-shirt and shorts on. But his mate is a woman who looks like she's going to the beach. She has a swimsuit and a swimsuit cover and flip-flops on, like sandals. And wondering, they're coming back. So they're, they've already gone where they needed to go and they're coming back out of the hike, right? And so we're still got, a couple miles to go up and back. On our way back, halfway on our way back, we hear some hollering from across the creek that ran along the trail. And so we go out to the creek and we look out there and it's that same couple. And they're saying, hey, help us. We're lost. We don't know how to get back. Please help us. So we get them across the creek. We get them back on the trail and said, "Okay, you can go with us. We'll get you down." And they're going very slow because they have the most terrible footwear you can imagine for a trail. And he starts throwing something. And I stopped. I said, "Hey, what was that?" "Oh, well, it was a water bottle." I said, "No, we're going to pick that up. We're going to take it with us." So I said, "I can either put it on my backpack or you can take it." So, I'll take it. So then later I hear something in the bushes and I think he threw the water bottle back out because it was no longer in his pocket again. I think he just waited till later and then he threw the water bottle out again. And it's getting dark now. It's dark. And we're taking this unprepared couple out of this trail and they don't have any more water. They don't have anything to eat. So I'm giving them my water and my Cliff Bar and and get them all the way down. And we're probably an hour after dark by the time we hit the trailhead. And anyway, it's one of those stories that you hope you don't come across people like that. But if there's some reason, because we were the last people on that trail, and if we weren't on that trail, I don't know that those people would have got found or that they would have made it back by dark. And then I don't know what they would have done because they were already lost.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that freaks me out. Like, not to be alone in that situation, but to see the not being prepared. So this is our plea to wherever you're going to go, be prepared for the conditions that you might encounter and have appropriate gear. I don't think you have to have a ton of stuff with you, but like an extra snack, a little bit,
Some basics,
some basics,
the right footwear.
Right. Right. Because of this episode, I'm going to link to naturefirst.org you're welcome, in the episode notes, because if you are a photographer or anyone, if you go out into nature, then we're going to ask you to follow the 7 principles. Shoot, what am I? Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Just follow the 7 principles there. Just go on, click on the thing, look at the 7 principles. And it's basically leave no trace principles, right? So you're just going to be a little bit more knowledgeable about where you're going, because we want you to have fun and we want you to come back alive. Right. And not saying that we don't want to accompany you on the trail, because we absolutely would. Right. In fact, that is why I created these escapes, is so that we can do this together as women, this kind of stuff. So if you're a photographer and you do this too. Mm-hmm. So you have a workshop coming up in October.
Mm-hmm. It's Colorado Fall Workshop, photography workshop, and it's run by 2 Colorado photographers. So, woo. I mean, if you're going to take a workshop, you might as well take a workshop with people from Colorado who know the area. But Martha Montiel and I have a fall color workshop in the Telluride Ridgeway area in October, and all genders are welcome, but it's going to be a great time.
Yep. It's not just for women, right. But it is run by 2 women, and you guys get along with everyone.
It just happens to be. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of the point of my story was that this young woman was nervous to hike by herself, and it turned out to be, a great story. But there is a lot of that, and as ladies, female photographers, female hikers, that it's something, to think about it. And it's nice to have an opportunity to be among other female photographers and other female, hikers, for that matter, and enjoy our passions together and be safe.
Agreed. This girl that asked you will probably never listen to this podcast, but who knows? I just want to say hooray for her for asking someone, like saying, how can I do this? I still want to do this. Oh, I'm going to ask mm-hmm. Shanda. Yeah. I think she didn't know your name, but mm-hmm. I think that's really brave of her to just ask another female stranger to go do this with her,
Because a lot don't. I've traveled to 48 different countries, and most of the time I've been on my own as a traveler. And either you can sit around and wait on somebody to go with you, which will likely never happen, or you can still go. And in this situation, this young woman had the nerve to ask me to go with her. She still went. She still got out there. She asked me to go with her, and she got in a little hike. So.
And did you wake up at 4 a.m. again?
I didn't go out the next day. I said that was enough for me.
You're like, I am done. I have seen it.
Yeah. I have a couple of snapshots that are decent because I didn't take my tripod, because I'm not thinking we're going to have time to set up a tripod and do all this, because I wanted to do some long exposures, which is my favorite. But I got a couple of kind of handheld, put it on a rock, take a couple pictures, kind of pictures. Nothing, spectacular, but again, it's part of the story. So
do what you can with what you have.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it was a great experience. So, I mean, my photography took me out to this interesting experience,
As it does, Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's not going to turn out the way we expect, but I think as long as we're getting out, we're going to have interesting experiences. Mm-hmm. And that's what,
absolutely.
Right. And that's what I want to have more
mm-hmm. of. Ultimately. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we already talked about your workshop. What else? I know there's something that you're dying to tell us about. So before we go, tell us about your book.
Yes. So in the Air Force and all these different places that I went to and the deployments, the austere locations, we think a lot about family and home. Those are the things that keep us grounded and keep us moving forward, family and home. And for me, it's always been the mountains and obviously my family, but the mountains and this Durango area, the Colorado area that I grew up in. Of all the photos that I've taken, all the images I've captured around the world, I just never really took pictures at my home. I was visiting family, friends, going to events, and people had asked me, well, how come you don't have images of your home? So when I retired and came back home, I decided it would be a perfect fit for me just to spend time in my community, taking nature, landscape images, capturing some of my favorite places, just spending time here, kind of getting to know the area again and maybe even in a different, deeper mindset. So it started in 2018 and almost 5 years later, I've had a lot of people ask me to share, how can I get some of that? And so the book idea came about, and it is now a fine art photography book that's actually at the printers right now. Yay! And it will be on the streets on the 1st of October. And we did a Kickstarter in June, and it was very successful. For those who don't know, it helps the front end. It's giving something and receiving something. So it's not like a GoFundMe, hey, give me money for this. It's a pre-sales. It's an upfront trust that me, the artist, will provide whatever it is in return. And so the Kickstarter went really well. Then I actually had a bunch of pre-orders and pre-sales right straight off my website, everywhere from California to New York. Friends and family, people I don't know, ordering the book, which is fantastic. And it's been so much fun picking out the paper and the cover and the images. And it's more of a labor of love than anything, but it will be out in October with an exhibition and book signing here in town at the Create Art NT on the 1st of October.
So exciting. And if you want a copy or you want to check it out, you want to give one as a gift and get one for yourself, you can totally do that. That's what I'm doing. So we will put a link in the description. They can still get them. So I think this episode will come out in September. And so you should be able to get one of those. So we'll put a link to Shanda's website, which should have everything on there. And you can also check out her online portfolio with all of her work, which is really amazing. So Shanda, thank you so much for chatting with me.
Thank you so much for having me, Bree.
You are a true wild woman, and I can't wait to have you back on the podcast because we are going to do that. We are going to do that because we want to hear more from your adventures. So until that happens, bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Come with me on my next adventure. Be a wild woman and join me on one of my small group photography escapes in places like the magical cypress swamps of East Texas or beautiful white sands, New Mexico. Go to wildwomanphotography.com for all the details. While you're there, you can check out the faces of other wild women, episode transcripts, and more. Oh, and I'd love for you to support this podcast and all these incredible wild women in photography by leaving a review or sharing with a friend. Thank you so much for listening.